Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is just a little bit on this one. And biggest thing when you're doing 3 sine of theta, you want to make sure your calculator is in radians. And what you are going to do is literally put the numbers in your 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, 5 pi. And so when you're doing that in your calculator, you would go 3 sine of 0 or pi over 2. So you have 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, 5 pi over 2, and then 3 pi. So in your calculators, you would literally go sine, so you'd go 3 sine of pi over 2. Is 3. And you'd go 3 sine of 0, which is 0. And you would keep going and getting your numbers, and then you'd plot those. So it goes 0, and then goes up to 3, and then you'll find it, you'll get a 0 again, and you'll find it's a pattern. So it goes up, down, down, up, up, down, and you connect them with a curve. Yep, we did it last week. I can show you the notes, but yep, we did it last week. So, oh, you might have been gone. But anyways, so literally what you have to do just in your calculator, Nick, this is review 1. All you have to do is literally put in on your calculator 3 sine of pi and get a number. And make sure your calculator's in radians. And then plot those points. Alright, so after you graph this side, you graph the other side. So you would get your graph, and it would look like this. It is a wave. What is the period? The period is when it starts to how long it is done. So it goes up, down, down, up. And then if you think about it, it goes up, down, down, up. So your period is 2 pi. Your amplitude is the height. So how high is it? Is 3. The period is how long it takes to complete the cycle. So 1 wavelength if you think about it. Yep. This is the answer sheet, so I didn't have to graph it all. Yep. If you look at this one, look here. This is my graph. It starts here, goes up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. So obviously from here to here is my thing that I'm going to keep repeating. So what is my period here? My period, this is pi, so this is pi over 2. Yep, so your period is pi over 2. It doesn't ask it, but what is the amplitude? Amplitude is how high is it, right? So the amplitude is 0.5. All right. On 3, it says, what is the sine value of 315? It says use the graph. So literally you're going to find 315. So we have, here's, what is it going by? So it's going by 30s. So it's somewhere in here. So we got 315. So it's about right there. And so it should be approximately negative 0.75-ish. Now, because it's using the graph of this. So it's just saying, and that's hopefully what it says. Yep. All right. All right. So number 9 on page 5. It says, what is the minimum value of the function? What is the minimum value of a function? Does anybody know what it's called? What is the lowest point on that graph? What is that called? The vertex. So how do you find the vertex of a
Negative b over 2a?
negative b over 2a is right. That's how you find the x value. So you find the x value, and then we're going to plug it back in to find our y value, right? So we have negative b. So we have negative 18. This means the opposite.
So it's 18.
So it's 18 over 2. A is 3. All right. So now that's our x value of our vertex.
And you just plug it in for x.
And so now we're plugging it in. So we have 3 times 3 squared minus 18 times 3 plus 28. So we have 3 times 3 squared minus 18 times 3 plus 28 is 1. So our vertex is 3, 1. So we literally are going to plot 3 and 1. How can I find another value of this?
X and y chart.
X and Y chart, a T-chart. So I want a point to my right and a point to my left. So I'm going to pick,
4, 3, 2.
so 2. So 2, yep, so I'll put 2 in there.
Big red.
So 2 is 4, and 3, 4.
Big orange.
Is also 4. So we have 2, 4, and 4, 4. When we want to graph this, what kind of graph does it look when you have absolute values?
V.
It looks like a V. Is it going to be up or is it going to be down? It's going to be down because of this negative. So the thing that we have to remember is we have to find that vertex. So what makes this, what number do we have to put in for x that makes this 0? 2 times what? Oh, actually, yeah, I guess we're going to have to find 2x plus 5. Yeah, you're right. It's probably going to be equals my 0. So, yep, it's going to be, yeah, you're probably right. Actually, it might be, just a second. If you have a graphing calculator like I do, I'm going to actually, because I don't think this is going to, we're doing it right. So, negative absolute value.
Can you explain how to do all this in your video, right?
2x, this is my video, plus 5.
Am I now in your video?
Now you are in my video.
Thank you.
Yep, so it is going to be negative, like you guys said, negative 2.5, and that's what you guys were saying. So we have here subtracting 5, 2x is equal to a negative 5. Divide by 2, x is equal to a negative 2.5. So this is my first point. I need to know another point on each side. So I'm going to go 1, maybe 1, put a 1 in. 2 times 1 is 2, and that's 7, so that's negative 7. And this is also 7. Alright, 16 on page 7. Mr. Villarreal is designing a flower garden for Mrs. V in the shape of a trapezoid.
Where is the flower?
I know, but he wanted Mrs. Yes, Mrs. V wants, and I'll make sure he listens to this tonight, this part of it. Mrs. V wants to have the shorter base to be 3 times greater than the height of it. See, and I would be sneezing too. And longer base to be 7 greater than the height. It is given as a model h squared plus 5h equals 190. And using the quadratic formula, find the height that will be the design of the area. So we're going to use this in the quadratic. Yes. Yeah. So we're going to use the quadratic. So we have h squared plus 5h, and we're going to bring this over to the other side. Minus 190 is equal to 0. To be able to use the quadratic, you have to have it set to 0. Remember, a is the number in front of your squared, so that a is 1. B is 5. And C is negative 190. So it says negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have negative 5 plus or minus the square root. I'll put this into my calculator. So I have 5 squared minus 4 times negative 190.
Can't you just put that entire thing in your calculator twice?
As long as you put parentheses around this whole thing.
That's probably why I got that wrong.
If you don't put parentheses, and that's why I do it out like this, because a lot of people forget those parentheses. So you have negative 5. How I do it is negative 5 plus the square root of 785, enter, then divide by 2. So I get 11.5, and then we have negative 5 minus the square root of 785, enter, divided by 2. Since this is a negative number, can we have a negative length? No. So that means this has to be the height that we have, that we just solved for. Get right on that. All right. So we have here on 38 on page 9, we have a square root over a square root. The first thing I would do is simplify to the most that you can. 7 and 6 doesn't reduce, so we're going to leave the 7 and the 6 on the bottom. But if I have 11 on the top and I have 5 on the bottom, how many x's will I have? I'm going to subtract them, so I'm going to have x to the 6th on the top. 12 on the top of y's, 5 on the bottom. I subtract the two numbers, I get y to the 7th.
Totally about to, yeah, subtract again.
We can't have the square root on the bottom. So we have to multiply both top and bottom by the square root of 6. Because that's what's on the bottom.
Okay.
So on the bottom, yep, square root of 6 times square root of 6 is plain old 6. On the top, we have the 7 times 6, which is 42. X to the 6th, y to the 7th. And we're gonna pull out the ones that are, yep. So the first thing we have to do is find out, is there a perfect in 42? Is there a perfect square? So remember, you must, and I would personally write my perfect squares on your 8.5 by 11 front and back cheat sheet that you're hopefully making. So your perfect squares are 1 squared, which is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared 16, 5 squared 25, 6 is 36, and 7 squared is 49.
So, you mean like an index card we can have?
You can have an 8.5 by 11 sheet, front and back.
Whoa.
Yeah, of anything you want to write on it.
That's awesome. How many
So,
questions are going to be on the final?
About 50. So, this right here is too big. 32 does not go into 42 evenly. 25 doesn't go into that evenly. Well, 16, I'm not 100% sure, so I'll go 42 divided by 16. And that doesn't go in evenly. We might not have anything else. 42 divided by 9. Nope. And the last one, 42 divided by 4. Nope. Doesn't work. So our number is going to stay the same. What number is sitting when you have a square root? What number is there? A 2. So 2 people can leave at a time, and there's 6 in this group. How many groups can leave? 3 groups. If we have 7 of here, how many groups can leave? 3, with 1 left over.
It's so complicated.
Alright, so 48, page 11. 48, using law of sines. Remember, law of sines is sine of an angle over the side is equal to sine of B over that B. All this is saying is you have to have 2 angles and the sides across from them to be able to use the law of sines. It doesn't really matter if it's A, B, or C. They just have to, A goes with A, B goes with B, C goes with C. So it says find here. It says find measure of angle C to the nearest tenth. So we have sine of C over what? 59 is equal to sine of 61 over 54. Now, cross multiply is the easiest way. So 54 sine of C is equal to 59 sine 61. Trying to get this by itself, I'm going to divide by 54. I'm going to throw this into my calculator, putting parentheses around that. So I have 59 times sine of 61. My mode is in radian right now, so I got to change it to degrees.
Yeah, that's going to mess me up on the exam.
61 divided by 54.
You have to change the mode every time.
Not every time, but you have to remember, make sure you're in degree modes when you're doing all the degree stuff, and then radian mode.
Okay.
So I got 0.955. Yep.
That's the angle?
That's, nope, this is the sine of the angle. Remember the sine? So hopefully you remember your sine has to go between -1 and 1. So this number, if you did it right, should be between -1 and 1 at all times. How do I find the angle here? How do I solve for an angle? The inverse. So I go sine inverse. So I have C is equal to the sine inverse of my answer, which gives me 72.8 degrees. I sure will.
And what's the law of cosine?
The law of cosines, remember, is c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cos of big C. Where this is the angle that you're using, and across from that angle has to be the one that's across from the equal sign. This is the side. All right, so find B. And so we're looking for this. So that means that this is going to be my B. So I'm going to go B squared is equal to the other two sides squared. So 13 squared plus 18 squared minus 2, 13, 18 cos
33.
of 33. Throw this whole thing into your calculator. So 13 squared plus 18 squared minus 2 times 13 times 18 cos, lost my cos of 33. B squared is 100.5. How do I still solve for B? Square root. So B, take the square root of that, square root of my answer. So B is 10.03. All right, 59, or not 59, 58. We'll do 59 in a second. 58. This is, you want to make sure you understand what this is. It says find the arithmetic mean, AN. So really what this says is find AN. All right, so we're looking for AN, a term. It says AN minus 1. What does A sub n minus 1 mean? The previous term. So the term before this is what? 9.7.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yes. This says A sub n plus 1. So that means the term after it. So that's 19.7. All right. So we're looking for the term in between. It's arithmetic. What does arithmetic mean? Means that we're adding. We add some number. That we're going to add some number that was going to give us this. That we're going to add to it to get this.
Yes.
All right. So what is the difference between this number and that number? 10.
Plus 5.
But yes, we're adding 5 each time. Is right, because if we have 9.7 and we have 10 divided by 2, so because it's here and there, so we have 5. So 9.7 plus 5 gives me 14.7 is my answer. Make sure that you plus 5 and you get 19.7, so that is correct. That our last one. All right. Solve x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to 64. The only way you can solve ones that have squares is with our quadratic formulas, right? We have, so, and it has to be set to 0, so we are going to subtract 64 on both sides. We have x squared plus 6x minus 55. Quadratic equation, if you don't know it, hopefully you know it by now, is negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have negative b, so we have negative 6. If b was negative 6, what would it be? It would be positive. This just means opposite. Make sure you know this means opposite. All right, so we have negative 6.
What if the numbers are these? -2?
Then it would be positive because a negative and negative make a positive. Yep. That's Quadratic. You're welcome. Negative 6 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4a, which is 1, c, which is negative 55, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. All right. Throw this in our calculator. So I'm going to go in parentheses, negative 6 plus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times negative 55, end of parenthesis, divided by 2. And I get 5. My other one is the same thing, but now I have a minus, and I have a negative 11. So I have two numbers. Remember, anytime you have a square, you have to use the quadratic to solve it out.